Hi, everybody. We'll start in a couple of minutes. Thanks. So hi, everyone. Welcome. Thanks for joining. My name is Gary Taylor. Today, I'm going to run through how you would use Megaport to connect to AWS Direct Connect hosted. And I'll also be deploying the newly announced 25 gig capacity option. This is part of the ongoing series of Megaport Live tech drop-ins. So Megaport is a networking as a service provider. Essentially, we provide the ability for customers to consume networking services in exactly the same way you would consume cloud services. So real-time deployment, scale up, scale down, delete, migrate, etc. So what makes the Megaport NAS platform different? Well, firstly, the reach. Megaport is part of a virtualized global ecosystem built on pre-existing hardware. This gives you the ability to deploy capacity to all of the well-known cloud service providers, giving you access to thousands of IT-based services, as well as connectivity to other DCs and IX services across the globe. It is predictable performance, so it's like having your own private fiber lines, making it highly secure. Your data travels on our private global network with no internet within the core. All of these components can then be linked together with virtualized network cross-connects. We call them VXCs, virtual cross-connects. And they are typically layer 2 MPLS pseudo wires. And as stated, this can all be done in real time, just a few minutes and the service is up. You pay only for the capacity you wish to deploy, as it is pre-built and virtualized. You can scale that capacity up and down on demand. You no longer have to worry about traffic spikes or wasted capacity. This ensures good end-user application performance. This makes NAS services very cost-effective. This can all be designed, deployed, and be fully operational in minutes, and be available for only the term you need. This reduces your upfront infrastructure cost to zero. Also, your time cost is zero. As your Megaport assets are virtual, they require no capital investment or hardware provision. It's also worth mentioning egress fees for all cloud providers via Megaport on-ramps are significantly lower. So there is actually potential for data cost savings when using private cloud access. So you can design, deploy, manage, and monitor all through a single portal. It's point and click. You bring your own cloud service keys, and this makes establishing private connectivity very simple. We also support Terraform, and everything I can show in the portal is fully API enabled as well. So here we are. Oops. So quick snapshot on our global reach. You can access Megaport in over 850 locations across the globe. Please note there's two types of locations where you can connect to. The first one is installed, and these locations contain physical Megaport hardware in the data center. We then have enabled, and these locations share the same campus or metro area as the installed data center. What it does mean is that you can actually access that installed location through a data center private intra-campus or intra-metro cross-connect. So Metro Connect, for example. Quick overview of the connectivity choices that are available. On the left, we have the hybrid cloud option, where you would connect from an on-prem location in a DC into a physical Megaport at 1 gig, 10, or 100. This will be part of the demo I'm showing later on. We then have the virtual POP. So essentially on-demand network function virtualization. You deploy virtual compute with a number of SD-WAN firewall or router images. So Cisco Catalyst SD-WAN, which was Viptela, the autonomous C8000V or CKV, FortiGate Aruba, Palo Alto VM series, and also SD-WAN Prisma. We support VMware, Versa, and Cisco Firewall, I believe it was called Firewall Threat Defense. And then also Meraki's coming very soon. We then have the cross-cloud option here. And here you create a virtual router, typically delivered in a metro with a high number of cloud service providers. The Megaport Cloud Router, as it is called, delivers high-performance, low-latency cloud-to-cloud access. So then focusing on the hybrid cloud option, as I mentioned earlier, you order a Megaport, which is here. We then create a letter of authorization. You give that LOA to your DC provider, and then they connect you from your on-prem environment here to Megaport via a cross-connect, and then you're on net. That can take a couple of hours or a couple of days. And in theory, you can deliver multiples of 100 gig if you wish from that location. We support 100 VLANs per port or lag, and there's no limits on the overall capacity per VLAN. Obviously, it's limited at 10 gig per VLAN, but you can oversubscribe. So essentially, you capacity manage the port yourself. And then from here, you connect into cloud providers like Google, Azure, AWS, Oracle. You can connect to third-party providers via service keys. You can also connect to other parts of your own Megaport network. So virtual edge, which is the virtual POP I mentioned earlier, or the MCRs, or even just other Megaports on your own network. So you can build global WAN real-time through the portal. You can connect to customers that have made their services public in a marketplace, and you can also connect to internet exchanges or IXs. We offer very flexible contract terms. So 1 month, which is perfect for migrations, or for cheaper rates, you can do 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year contract terms. So over to the demo. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to jump into our portal. This is a production portal. It's a demo account, so there's a lot of activity. And just to show you what the options available, we have a widget at the bottom that just tells you what services are up or down. And if I just click on full screen, I can zoom out. The dashboard gives a nice holistic view of all the services that are available and services that you have delivered. If we filter on Europe, we can actually filter on the services that you've made live yourself. And then we can filter based on where we have 100 gig ports, which is none in Atlas Edge. But if you look across Europe, that just gives you all the services available at 100 gig. We can also search via MCRs, so the virtual routing function. And we can search via MVE, Megaport Virtual Edge, which is the virtual POP service as well. There. And then, as you can see earlier, I was doing a search on Atlas Edge, which confirms the Atlas Edge data centers available within Europe. And obviously, the number of providers, if we just filter that out, we can look at, say, oops, there. We can look at what is, say, interaction. And then these are the interaction DCs we have available in Europe as well. So a nice holistic view of the services. We can also look at VXCs, and anything in red obviously is a VXC that has not gone live. And typically that means in a Megaport, it just means that there's no light. And when there's no light, the service is not up, which is why you see it as red. And then if you look here, you see a bunch of services that have been built, and that is connecting Europe to APAC, specifically Singapore, and directly into Australia. So that's the portal. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump into a channel account. I do that purely because it's much easier and cleaner to see. 2 seconds. Yeah. There. And then I'll jump into the portal. So this is the same thing. I'm just in a managed account, and it's just got one service live. As you can see, that service I've built already, and it's a Megaport in North Sea, Amsterdam, near Schiphol, and it's a 100 gig port. So what we do now is we're going to connect into AWS, and I'll come back and just run through some of the features that are available from here. So as per my earlier message, we're going to build a connection into AWS Direct Connect hosted, and we're going to use a new 25 gig service that they've made available just last week. So here, we're in Amsterdam, we connect into AWS, we click on hosted, and we choose the region closest to us, which is going to be AM1, which is literally just up the road from Schiphol. And that connects into AWS, and the region is EU Central 1, which is Frankfurt. So obviously nothing's stopping you connecting into Frankfurt directly. What it does mean, it's a non-metro location. You just obviously pay us more money because it's greater distance, as simple as that. But in theory, you can be in Amsterdam and you can choose to connect to Singapore. And there's nothing stopping you building a connection directly across using the Megaport backbone rather than, say, the internet or whatever option you currently have at the moment. So if I go to Netherlands, we click AM1. The color coding just basically confirms diversity. So if you're in AM1 and you have your kit in AM1, then you need to ensure that if you're in red, the red zone, you need to connect to red just so that there's no single point of failure. Obviously, red to red, blue to blue. If you go red to blue, then you have single points of failure. Because we're in EMEA in North Sea, we're not in AM1, so it doesn't make a difference. Our VXCs or our virtual cross connects are fully protected, so we would reroute the traffic in the next fastest way from EMEA to AM1 within Amsterdam. If there's a failure, obviously, for that VXC. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to put in some free text and we choose a rate limit. In this case, we're going to test the 25 gig service here. If you shut down the VXC, obviously it's an admin down type feature, which is relevant if you need to test some kind of failure or however you wish to do it. And then we could click on next. And then the account I'm going to take from AWS. I've got that already. We click next. It just does a check. We add the VXC. We click order. So it's in the shopping cart now, and this gives you a design function. As you can see, it changes to design. So it's great for testing, pricing, and testing services that you need to deploy without actually deploying it. We click order. It will now make an API call. It validates. We click order now, and it starts deploying. And this is real-time deployment in Amsterdam. And I'll wait for that to go there. And if we go back to the dashboard, we can actually see that being deployed. I'll just make it widescreen or full screen. And then if we click on this, we can actually see. So that's North Sea. It's by Schiphol Airport, and we've now connected to AM1. So it's not too far away. And while that deploys, I'm just going to jump back in here and just do a quick overview of the services. As I mentioned, the Megaport, 1 gig to 100 in 450 or so locations around the world. The MCR is our virtual routing function, Megaport Cloud Router. It's a layer 3 function as well in key locations around the world. And then MVE is our virtual edge service as well. If I just jump onto that briefly, I'll go to Netherlands and just to show you what we have available from an image point of view. As I mentioned, it's Aruba, it's Cisco, Catalyst SD-WAN, it's the C8KV. We have the FortiGates, VMware Versa as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump into the console, and this is the AWS console directly. This is my demo account. As you can see, the account is 3705. It's my account ID. We click on Direct Connect, and then we click on Connections. And then as you can see, it's ordering. And this is the service I've just deployed. It's pretty much real time. We click on that. The region is EU Central 1, and the end result is AM1. So we're connecting AM1 to AM3. And the key point here, where's it gone, is 25 gig. So that's a 25 gig service being deployed in real time, from Amsterdam. That is it. So from my side, thank you. Any questions, please contact us direct. And obviously, we look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.